So one of the things about using the random name generator to help me come up with a lot of interesting names is now I have to pronounce some of them. So I'm looking at some of these names I'm going to introduce today, and I'm like, how exactly do you pronounce this?
Don't worry about it.
Well, I have to pronounce the name today, so I am worried about it.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll be fine, but I'm just like, I like the interesting variety of names that the name generator comes up with instead of constantly using Jim Bob and Bobbert. But
It's almost like you guys got tired of me using Jeffrey every other session.
all right, we're on Jeffrey 64 for this campaign.
Yeah.
But
There we go.
There we
there we go.
There we go.
I was so confused. I was making sure my money was appropriate, and I was like, how do I have $20,000 less than my other character? I don't think we had $20,000.
Um, so
I fixed it.
yeah, you should be. Plus, we hadn't split all the resources we got in the temple, Brock.
We haven't split any of the resources we got in the temple.
Yeah, so your character should have basically come in with 6th level equivalent gold, and then by the time all the stuff is split from the temple, it'll be over 7th level gold.
Let me double check what stuff equivalent is.
Which
Oh, I guess I can. Oh, wait, that's why. I can get armor from my homeboy.
oh yeah. Um, so did you go with the Wraith Tribe, right? Drake Rider or something else?
I went with regular.
Regular Cavalier?
Yeah, I sent you everything.
Yeah, I kind of perused over it a little bit.
Yeah, so I ended up dual archetyping. One of them is irrelevant, one of them is relevant.
Hmm. How do you do the
Um,
dual archetype again? You lose an amount of feats or something?
no, there's just if the archetypes don't replace the same thing, you can pick two
Oh,
archetypes.
I was thinking of variant multiclassing.
Yes, that
Okay,
is
I'm
exactly what
back.
you're thinking.
Okay, so now that Spencer's back, we'll go ahead and do a quick recap. So, we have we're basically in the final stages of concluding the last arc in our campaign that we went through. We have traveled to the coastal city of
AOL?
Ailwell. Thank you. I was like, where the hell did I write that down? And you guys were in search of one of the ancient ruins that you believe to be in that area. You guys very quickly found that what was believed to just be weird outcroppings of naval navigation out in the Bay of Ailwell is actually the sunken remains of the old ruins. And you guys went ahead and during low tides found an entrance into the ruins and headed on down.
Ye-
Once you guys got into the ruins themselves, you realized that there were, through finding magical cursed daggers, 4 keys that you needed to procure throughout in order to unlock the vault door. You guys went ahead and navigated the different monsters that were remained lurking, either aquatic humanoids who have made new residence in the ruins, or old creatures trapped over thousands of years, even tens of thousands of years, still guarding their cursed daggers.
That would
Once you,
suck.
I mean, as I described, like the creature that the Naga, which is typically a neutral creature, you felt was very I don't want to say possessed, but it was just very I don't even say like demonically deformed, but
Mm.
you could tell that like it was definitely there was some bad juju going on with the creature that if you were to compare it to a
Evil had
nowadays,
influenced it and swayed its mind to the dark side.
basically, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So once you guys gathered all the cursed daggers, each dagger connected to a Lovecraftian elder god. You guys open up the vault door and you ran across one of the main bad guys of the campaign. Unfortunately, in my notes, I just call them Squad. So unless you guys come up with a more interesting name for these 6 villains,
The villainous villains of villainy.
perfect. You guys ran across
Got you.
the Catfolk Blood Rager Jahani, and Mitch made very short work of him with a couple of well-placed hold persons.
Oh, you know, you just got to do what you got to do.
Not really a spell that I've ever seen used so effectively.
It was highly effective.
Th-
Excellent
that-
tactics.
It's like
That
it was super
combat-
effective.
I wrote it and I was like, this is dangerous. And then Mitch turned off the combat and I was
Then-
like, well,
Then
it's no
Poshman
longer
said,
nearly as dangerous.
and then Poshman said, "Hold my beer."
No, he's just a tool for this job.
So
Got it.
once you guys finished off the combat, you guys went deeper into the vault and you found the remnants of the mural that you were looking for. As of right now, because you only have a certain portion of the mural from the first ruins that you're in and a portion of the mural from the second ruins that you're in, it's hard to tell exactly if they line up or not. We'll have to find more ruins with more murals to fully understand this conundrum.
There you go.
And then you received a vision of the alternate timeline where Poshman and his master Phelan were initially investigating the ruins. And it mostly went as expected, except for Phelan in the alternate timeline revealed that he may have more nefarious what's a good word to go with nefarious? Nefarious motives. Intentions.
Or
thank you.
motives.
One
Either
of
one of
those
those words work.
Yeah. He has nefarious motives, potentially.
Well, there
And
you go.
that is
Oh,
where
good old Phelan.
that is where we'll pick up. So it is you 4, Kren, and then your halfling linguist Kotswick, and you guys have just come out of the vision. And this vision actually was a lot different than the other visions too, because except for when Poshman was directly interacting with Phelan, he and everyone else actually had more of an aerial view looking down on the vision, whereas before it would have been just Poshman seeing the details that he saw in the alternate timeline.
Right, so guys, I think I just saw what God sees. And I'm kind of tripping.
Of course.
Kotswick goes, what happened to you guys?
I got to see a pretty good view of the back
usual.
of my head, and that was very weird.
What does that mean? You guys were out for like 15 minutes.
No, it couldn't have been that long.
It was.
Is this what's
I
been
don't
happening
know.
to you all since the festival?
Yeah, that's,
Well,
this is it.
Yes.
I checked my watch. Has it actually been 15 minutes?
It's been 17 minutes.
Oh, see, I was right. You were wrong. It wasn't 15 minutes, it was 17. But that's okay. It's not like you have a watch to keep track.
The biggest problem is we should be entering into low tide's peak, and now the water should be soon rising.
Oh, We
so
should
what
probably
you're saying
move.
is we should probably leave.
If our business here is done, this
Cecil is
mural-
already like picking up all of his stuff and like getting ready to go. Just
this mural was our objective, correct?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know what else all it would have been. Seems pretty important.
hmm
Possibly
Sure.
more important than I had thought of before.
All right,
Agreed.
so let's get out of here then.
Let's go.
Sounds like a plan to me. Follow me, everyone.
And
So-
we'll walk out.
You guys don't have any issues getting out of the temple. You guys follow the same path that led you down to this level of the temple, and you do find eventually the large spiral
No
staircase
issues? No.
that eventually brought you here.
Why do I not hear anybody?
Do you not hear anyone?
I'm talking.
Was that
Okay.
Austin?
I know what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear us
Did
now?
you hit the
Yeah.
Did you hit the dampen by accident? Because I've done that once or twice.
I hit the mute button while adjusting your volumes because Brock is super, super quiet.
Yeah.
That would do it.
Yeah, as I said last time, I have Brock turned up all the way on my Discord always.
I
By
have
the
you
way,
guys
we're
at
at-
half volume or lower.
While we're having this little aside, I've been wanting to say for a while, it looks really weird seeing the map from this angle.
Oh,
It looks
seeing
up-
it right
it-
side
it-
up.
It looks upside down and it's weird.
Yeah.
I was
That's really
I was
funny.
I'm with you on that one, Mitch.
I was explaining to one of my coworkers like our transition of playing around a table to playing in front of the computer, and that's one thing that I brought it up is because all of our maps are oriented one direction just because of the way that our setup is. There's always two people who are looking at things upside down. So this is the first time transitioning to the PC that everyone gets to look at the map from the same orientation.
Yeah, like I don't know why I shouldn't have, because the whole time I'd been reading all the names upside down. But like for the longest time, I had thought, oh yeah, we're on the south of the continent, at one of the peninsulas, duh. And then I'm like, oh right, no, we're on the north. We're very high to the north.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're as high up as the non-elven lands go, basically.
Yeah.
There's like one little island
Yeah.
outcropping off the island, but other than that, this is as far north as the non-elven lands go.
I mean, there does seem to be some desert out there on the west that goes higher north.
The east,
Yeah, the east, whatever you
Pass.
call it. Pretty sure it's still the west.
yeah, I mean that's as of right now though, none of the residents of the continent of Dastros really go east of the mountains of Voraldur. So you guys don't deal with that area.
It seems
Guess that's fair.
deserted.
Ooh.
Ha.
So yeah, so you guys are
A little bit of dry humor for y'all.
ooh, ouch.
Better than wet humor.
Gosh dang it.
Better than moldy humor.
Ooh.
Speaking of wet and moldy humor, you guys do actually, as you're traveling up the
Come across some
stairwell to reach your boats that's waiting for you outside, you guys can like start to hear from like the bowels of the temple the water refilling,
That's cool.
and you can just hear that the tide is going along with what Codswick assumes that around now is the peak of low tide hit, and now you would have probably had another half hour or so, you guys assume, by the end of it,
Okay.
but better safe than sorry.
Yes.
So you guys get back to the surface, and waiting for you ever vigilantly is the captain that you guys made a deal with.
Well, that's
Um,
mighty nice of him.
And then, and you guys realize that he is no longer the fool that everyone assumes that he was.
I mean, if you mean by everyone, you mean everyone but me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he got us here. I think we stopped thinking of him as a fool.
So as
Mhm.
you guys come up and you see his kind of, we described it as a not really big but a mid-sized fishing vessel. Um, he goes, good timing, mates. I was fearing that if we would have waited too much longer, the tide might have beaten you.
It's good to see you, Captain Hawthorne. Glad you're here.
Well, let's get you onto the ship and let's get back to Ailwell. The night is. You guys now are probably around like midnight or 1.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, it'll be nice
It's
to
beddy by time.
get to bed after all of this is done.
Agreed.
So you guys all successfully load back onto the ship, and Captain Hawthorne starts navigating through Ailwell's thorns.
Hmm.
And within half an hour, based off the speed of his ship, he gets you guys back to dock.
Excellent.
As you guys, help him tie down and start exiting, you see at the end of the dock there are 4 figures standing there. Right now, you only have the natural light of the moon. So, Cormier, do you have any dark vision?
I believe so.
And then Hoshman at least has low light vision. And
I mean, I guess so.
Olney has low light vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have
So-
60 feet.
It's really only Cecil and I forget,
Coswick.
do halflings have low light? Brock?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's only Cecil and Hawthorne that are having a little bit of trouble making out the figures at the end of the dock. But for those of you who can see a little more clearly, I'll go ahead and reintroduce you to. Did you guys see that pop up in your screens?
Oh,
Yeah.
our boy Lester, the guy that was watching us on the other ship.
Yeah, he was watching you on. Did I call it the Traveler?
Think so.
Yeah, sounds right.
Captained by Shelton Scarface and Miss Allie Fell.
Yeah, the chick with the bad attitude.
She had a bad. No, she was
Great
fun to roleplay.
aptitudes, bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. She seems fine to me.
And they start walking up to you, and it's like Lester says, "Well, you guys made me wait long enough."
Well, we weren't really expecting you. You know, if you don't want to wait so long, you should
I
probably set
suggest
like a
you
time.
shut up. I am tired of hearing you talk.
Yeah,
I
well,
recommend
you know,
that you
I'm
just-
not quite.
He says, "Lay down your arms, and this will go a lot smoother."
I
So
believe you'll
this is
find
probably
that
the
our
time
arms are
we're
very
going to have
well
to.
attached.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm just gonna pull out a weapon.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I could do that.
Now,
Yeah.
boys.
Cecil's going to
need-
do the same thing.
No need to get into anything too rash. I assume I can get the same out of your bounty alive as I could dead.
Wait, there's a
Ooh,
bounty for
more
us?
bounties. That
Oh,
didn't work
there's-
so
Yeah,
well
there was
for
a
the
bounty
last
from the
group.
last city. We went over that.
That's right,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna charge him.
So I would also like to note that we did just get done killing some monsters. So if you'd like to try and tussle with us, by all means, have fun.
All right, so
You're
it's
just spitting all that out as as Cormier just runs
As
past.
Cormier's rushing
You-
him, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
very calmly explaining it. We just fought monsters
Yeah.
while we have our giant half-orc run at them.
So let's go ahead and let's get me some initiatives.
Alrighty then.
What is the command for rolling in Roll20?
/roll space 1D whatever plus a number.
Okay.
And if you're gonna type it out every time, you could also just do /R
Okay.
just to
Oh yeah,
make it.
do you not
full
have the
3
green
letters
text
faster.
that's in chat?
Do I what?
Uh,
In my chat, there is a green box that says "Welcome to Roll20," and it kind of goes through how to do stuff.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Do.
All right, so now it's time for you guys to see Codswick's ridiculous initiative.
I mean. Oh,
I mean, yeah,
well, that's
okay.
a thing.
So 8 for Olney, 9 for Snare Fox, and 11 for Kilmere.
6. Cool.
Wow,
And 6 for Cecil.
the generator has done us dirty.
Just a little bit.
So
Jeez.
based
Oh.
off these numbers,
No.
Hold on just a sec, guys. I need to get my physical character sheet to see how many spells I have left. Oh, just give me 1 minute.
okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
Um,
Yeah, Codswick doesn't have much left. He used a lot of spells.
Yes, he did.
So Codswick will go ahead and he will
Fireball.
fire a. Actually, he didn't prepare a fireball today.
Lightning bolt.
He didn't prepare a lightning bolt either.
Oh.
wow.
Those
What
are
good
you.
is he?
Well, he's a conjuration specialist, so a lot of his damage spells are the rays and not.
Snowball.
So he will fire.
Everybody
his
loves
last,
Ray. Mund.
He will fire his last gloom blind bolt,
Oh.
and he only gets 1, so he won't fire it at Lester, but he'll fire it at one of Lester's lackeys. So
How many
He
lackeys
has-
are there?
there's 4 in total.
Okay.
And
Good to know.
if you imagine this is kind of like a 30-foot dock, they're about 15 feet away from you guys at the end of the dock.
Hmm.
So completely within a move action for everyone to get there. So against touch AC, he definitely hits the gloom blind bolt, and he deals flash roll 4d6. Ouch! He does 11 damage to that dude.
Nice.
And then Cormier, it is your turn.
Okay. Double checking. I know how this works. Okay. So then I charge him. So that means roll d20 plus that number. We have no buffs on us, right?
As of right now, other than the natural auras that you guys have through your campaign buffs, no.
Okay. Oh, I double checked. I think it's only for allies, but I have a banner.
Who?
See how banners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just to my allies. Okay.
So what's the bonus that the banner gives to your allies, though, just so we know?
So my banner is for all allies within 60 feet. You get a +2 morale bonus to saves versus fear, and a +1 morale bonus on attack rolls that are made as part of a charge.
So for 10% of your attack rolls, bless is now no longer needed.
But I don't get the benefit of my own banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is just for my allies.
So
And then
are you charging at Lester or one of the
Double-checking.
lackeys?
Lester.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm going to use the base challenge as a swift action just to add my level to damage. All right.
Do you add anything? Is it something to your attack roll and then level the damage, or?
No, it's just level the damage. From what I saw.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's your order that can add things to the challenge, that may add things to the attack roll that I'm thinking.
Yeah. My allies receive a circumstance bonus on attack rolls whenever you attack the target of my challenge.
Okay, so what's the circumstance bonus that your allies receive attacking Lester?
So if you attack Lester, you will get a +2 circumstance bonus from my order, and you'll get a +1 from my natural aura.
There
So
you
it's
go.
+3.
Nice.
Wow, that's just depressing.
Is that +2 for charge?
That's with charge.
He hasn't acted in combat yet, so that will hit,
Okay.
but barely.
Oof.
Um,
Definitely adding a
double
lot though.
checking. Yeah, it's gonna be very brutal to hit. Yep. So then,
And this is with your
Um,
lance?
yeah, and I have spirited charge. So
All right. So go ahead and describe to me
Yes.
your killing blow on Lester.
So, I imagine Cormier's everything is dragon themed because he's an Order of the Dragon Cavalier.
Yeah.
So his lance looks very similar to if you took a dragon's tooth and just kind of stretched it out.
Ooh.
Yeah. And after hearing the threat to his allies and their safety, he just quietly drew his lance, pointed at the guy, and then screamed bloody murder and kept his eyes on the space behind Lester, completely ignoring the fact that the man was there, as the lance punches through up to the very wide and right before his hands, and he just kind of kept going an extra 5 feet.
Nice.
Well, I definitely wasn't expecting you to one-hit KO Lester, so let me make some will saves to see if these other people think this is worth it. So the one that was nailed by Codswick's gloom blind bolt turns around and runs. Another one follows suit with him almost immediately, and then the third guy is like ready to move forward, and upon seeing his allies turn tail and run, he goes, "Nah, this bounty ain't worth it," and he starts running as well.
I
So-
tried to tell you what was happening, and none of you listened.
Is combat
this-
over?
Unless you guys want to pursue, combat is over.
I
mean-
do not.
He did.
No, I think it's more beneficial to let them speak of what has happened here.
Yeah, I definitely look at Codswick. I'm just like, well, he listened. He just needed more evidence.
Once the data was clearly put in front of him.
Well, no, see, he didn't listen to me. He listened to Cormir, and that just,
That bothers
he's
you?
not wrong. No, he's not wrong. I'm just saying if he just listened to me, he might be alive right now. Might not be, but
I suppose. At least the others listened.
And
And
then,
they're still alive.
eventually.
yeah, Codswick
They saw
does
the
chime
wisdom.
in, and he says, like, well, I'm glad that's over with because I didn't have any spells left. And that last spell wasn't as potent as I would have liked.
But we
Well,
appreciate your
pretend they
assistance
didn't
either
know
way.
that.
I don't know about you, gents, but I hope there's no more action tonight and that I can go home and go to bed. He
I'm
turns,
pretty
agree.
tired.
he turns to Captain Hawthorne and he says, but before I leave, Captain, I would love to make a meeting with you about making regular rounds to the temple. I think there is much more to be discovered here, and I think you would be the perfect person to go into business with in order to discover what these are. And then he and Captain Hawthorne quickly exchange like when they'll meet in the next couple of days to discuss going into the temple more often.
Hmm.
And upon finalizing that data, Coswick says, "Shall we?"
Indeed.
We shall.
So the funny part is you guys never made a hotel reservation.
Mm.
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn.
Oh yeah, you guys never found a tavern with an inn. I guess I should say medieval times.
Fair.
So are
Ooh.
you guys? How are you
Okay.
guys thinking of what do you want for a hotel inn? Do you just want to find like the closest one and go to sleep, or are you going to try to figure out where's one that's a little safer and a little more upscale-ish and see if they have any openings?
I imagine we would probably want to leave the vicinity of the docks because they're most likely going to be pretty full because of proximity to all the traveling.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't mind chilling out for a little bit higher class if it means added security.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys were to ask Codswicks where he would give a recommendation for an inn,
Mm-hmm.
he would give the one that's close by to the Arcane Guild.
Okay.
He'll explain. He'll go on to say it's like, yeah, the Arcane Guild, like, if you're a member or an associate of the guild, and for clarification, Austin, I think at this point, because Cormier's backstory has changed, he would be what's considered an associate or like an employee of the guild, but not a member.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, yeah, so if you're a member or an associate of the guild, you can go to the guild at any point in time for really basic lodging. But a lot of times people find those rooms not adequate. So there are 3 inns in the immediate courtyard outside the guild, and any one of those will work for you. They all have really good reputations, and their prices are very similar.
Perfect. We'll choose the one with the coolest name.
So let's quickly come up with some inn names then. You guys have the Phoenix's Hearth.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
You guys have let's see, what's something alchemically interesting? Like Wormtail's Hole. And you guys have the
Staying away from that one.
and
I
there's
don't want nothing to do with him and his hole.
the Mage's Rest.
Well, it's good enough. It's fair enough. That place didn't have room for us anyway.
Oh God, his hole is too full.
We don't fit.
Oh, I want to go to the Phoenix one.
The Phoenix's Hearth.
Yeah.
So, Phoenix's Hearth, yeah. That
Yeah,
sounds
so
dope.
they definitely have this late you walk in there and you do see that there's someone manning the front station, just kind of going over paperwork, doing ledgers, and she goes, come on in, come on in. Are you guys already have rooms or do you need rooms?
We
We
will be
need
needing
rooms.
them.
All right, and how many rooms can I get for you all?
How many beds are per
Let's
room?
just go ahead and do 5. Is Coswick still with us, or he'd go
No,
elsewhere?
Codswick would have gone home at this point.
All right, so 4 then.
And does this place have a stable?
Yeah, Kren has a place to go.
Cool.
Good.
If not here, then you could have taken Kren to the Arcane Guild, and they would have had a spot for him.
There you go.
Sounds fair.
We know how to deal with dragons.
So Kren's in one of those 2
Dragons.
locations, and you feel that it's very safe and good, and Kren's gonna be taken care of. So she gets you 4 rooms based off your level of adventuring at this point. the cost of the rooms is negligible, so not even worth keeping track of.
Cool.
And she quickly asks, "Will you guys be needing any refreshments or food before you go up? Midnight snack?"
No.
I mean, I'll take some. What she
I-
got?
At this point, she can basically pull out pastries.
Perfect.
Maybe
Just what
some,
any gnome would want.
maybe some fruit, just things that are non-prep.
I will have
Seems so
some.
good to me.
So yeah, she
I'll
gets you
take an
guys.
apple.
She gets you
Thank
guys a little bite. You guys were just adventuring and fighting for a couple hours, so I assumed that you're a little hungry, and then she'll show you to your rooms. Your night goes uneventful.
Where's the bard to be like, well, you're looking like a snack.
Ooh.
Hey. You're the one who
And-
chose not to play the bard.
That is true.
Spencer, one of these times, has to play the bard. Just the pun master McGee itself.
It's gonna be painful when he does.
He needs to play a court bard.
Ooh.
They have satire, mockery. They replace inspire courage and inspire confidence. They basically, I think, are debuffers.
I
Ooh.
like that.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I love a good debuffer.
Oh god, this
So-
looks awesome.
Satire gives a -1 penalty on attack rolls and damage rolls instead,
Mockery.
and then yeah, mockery is a -2 on charisma checks and charisma related things.
Oh man. Scandal. At 14th level, you can craft gossip and calumny to incite a riot. That's amazing. You affect everybody within
Ta-da.
30 feet as if they had Song of Discord. That's pretty cool. I like that.
So yeah, as I said, your night goes uneventful. You guys wake up and I assume either meet in one of your rooms or meet downstairs. And you guys could have made those plans ahead of time. But as you guys all congregate down in the main tavern and I assume have breakfast together, just to simplify
Nom, nom,
this,
nom.
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be approached by two elves.
Oh, really?
How do
And-
they approach us?
So the two elves will walk up, and you see that these are almost sort of like the boring, bland, stereotypical elf that the humans think as elves.
Mm.
If we're
Just
talking
another
in
knife
terms
here.
of elves and their racial variants, you consider them more of high elves than wood elves.
Mm.
And
So fancy knife is.
yeah, fancy knife ears.
Oh,
And they'll sit there
great.
and they'll be like, "Excuse me, you guys are Olney Curis, Cormier Lightbringer, Cecil Vodson, and Poshman's Cobblepot."
Yes, indeed, we are knife is. What? How'd you know that?
And one of them will hand a letter directly to Olney,
Yes.
and hopefully it popped up on your screen correctly.
It did. You and your companions are requested to appear in front of the Council of Elders in Athilanoris. Come with all due haste. The Council of Elders of Athilanoris. Huh.
Like,
Well,
that doesn't
that's
make
the
no
opposite
sense.
direction.
Isn't that an elf lens? I thought we weren't supposed to go there.
It's on the edge of Elflands where non-elves are.
The shadows lie.
No, so El Nishara is one of the. So Brock, you as an elf would know that for Athilanoris, the Elven country, there are two main cities that are basically capitals, or like the grandeur and size of capitals. They outshadow Mayadel for Rosmesh and Alosis for Atrana in their grandeur.
Mm.
And that's where any of the non-elven races can come and do business with elves. But past those two cities, and in my head, building the Elven country, I was thinking those cities kind of have more of a feel of like Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. And the Council of Elders do not reside in either of those two cities. They actually reside within the forest of Athilinoris itself.
Oh.
So you know this, but one of the messengers will chime. It's like, normally you are correct, Foshmit, but upon special invitation, especially from the council themselves, anyone is allowed in Athilinoris.
Summons are summons. It's a lot harder to get people to respond if they're not actually allowed to arrive.
You make a fair point there, Cecil.
Hmm.
So finish up breakfast and we'll head out.
Of course.
Okay, so you guys finish up your meals, and the two elves, since your table only has 4 chairs, they'll go and they'll sit down somewhere else, and they just order water because they're boring elves.
I mean, if there's room at the table, Cecil will like make an effort to like bring up chairs for them.
Oh, they'll give a polite like a little nod and be like, "No, we'll leave you guys to your breakfast."
Well then, enjoy your own.
And then yeah, you just see them get water and sit there and drink water, and if you're looking at them, they seem to be like hardly communicating with each other. They're just kind of there in their silence. So upon your meal being done, you'll meet up with the two messengers, and they'll be like, "So, do you guys have everything that you need, or do we need to get anything?"
Well, I mean, I don't think I need anything specific. I got just about everything I need on me.
I believe I am all set.
I should be ready to depart as well.
We can leave when you're ready.
Oh, no, actually, Cecil, if you don't mind, I could probably handle my my bag of holding now, so I can take that from you.
Of course.
Why'd you put a point in strength?
No, I have ant haul.
Okay, and that's hours per level.
I believe it's hours per level, but since it's targeting me, it is extended.
Oh, so is that 50% more or 100% more?
Twice as much.
Twice as much. Okay. And at this point, for the purposes of your characters, you guys did level up to 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you guys will meet in the courtyard, the 4 of you, Kren, and the 2 elves.
Kren is now large-sized.
Which is why there's 2
Nice.
elves, because they'll ask you guys to get into 2 groups, and they will ask you guys to link up, and they will teleport you.
Yeah.
Beom.
Oh.
If there wasn't Kren, there would only need to be 1 elf.
Or the elf needs to be stronger.
That's true.
There is that.
Isn't it just a matter of creatures based off your caster level, and large-sized creatures take up more slots?
Well, it's only double, so they can teleport 1 additional person per cast level, and teleport a 5th level spell, so 9 people. So
Oh, I didn't realize it was that low of a threshold. I thought it was harder.
So actually, I think they only needed 1 of them, but oh well.
I didn't look up teleport. I thought it was just harder.
That's fair. They
Okay.
want it
So-
to be convenient for the party, I think is the idea.
I just wanted to be nice in case we each wanted to have a +1.
So you guys now find yourself in a heavily wooded area. You guys assume it's the forest of Athilinoris. And the 2 elves will look at each other. Of course, they smash their percentage chance to teleport to the correct spot.
Yeah.
And you actually see that this is kind of like a set place for teleporting to happen to. So the 2 elves will very quickly usher you just a little bit off to the side to clear the teleportation pad. Maybe only being in the Arcane Guild, you know that each guild hall has one of these rooms to where if you're looking to teleport, you can memorize this specific room and then use that as your very familiar location. And it's even got enchantment magic to make it so you familiarize yourself with the room quicker than normal.
Haha.
So, since you're not to a level to teleport yet, you may not have done that for Argene and Alosis, but you know that each Arcane Guild has this room, and so the custom is to teleport and then move in case someone else wants to teleport there.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And you do see a person who's stationed at the teleport pad, and you know him to, quote, be our air traffic controller. You're supposed to send this person a mess ascending to make sure it's clear before you teleport.
Huh.
So I thought that'd be an interesting way for the wizards to get around the continent.
I like that.
Yeah.
So once you guys are out of the way, the two messengers will address you, and they'll say, "All right, so we just have a little bit of a travel to reach the council space. If you will please follow us." And they'll lead you down a pretty well-trodden path. At this point, as I said, Ishaloon and El Nishara, the two hubs where trade with the elves is allowed, are more like Rivendell. I imagine that at this point, everything in Philinoris kind of has more of a what's the area where Galadriel is in Lord of the Rings? Is that Lothlorien?
Yes.
Yeah, so it has a lot more Lothlorien
Sure.
feel. Everything at this point is built, like it's not necessarily exactly like it, but you get to feel that everything. You don't get to feel. You look and you see that everything is built within the trees, within the structure of the trees themselves. Some things are very just wood shaped to go within a tree to have a house. Some things are built into the trees themselves, kind of like a Lothlorien and the Ewoks. So at this point, all the development is very in tune with nature and not disrupting nature at all.
Fair.
And as you guys get to the path, you see that the path is leading you towards a circle of trees, and these trees are super densely grown together, and they're ridiculously taller than all the other trees in the area. You're guessing probably like a good 15, 20 feet taller. And there's just a single opening where this path enters into this ring of trees.
Okay.
And as the two elves get there, they go, "Please enter into the council space, and the council members will be waiting for you."
Of course. Thank you for your escort.
Thank you for not sending us back to Alosis and dealing with business there before coming here. That was definitely a possibility if you guys had brought it up, but since you hadn't, we went straight here.
Well, we didn't want to keep the elder knife ears waiting.
Please refrain from using the term knife ears in the council chamber.
But I thought that's just what y'all called.
Nobody
Good luck
calls
trying to explain it.
us elf. Nobody calls us knife ears.
No,
He
no,
does.
I'm pretty sure you do. People do. It's pretty common, actually.
Poshman, they don't hear. How about that?
Well, what do they call them here?
Elves.
Yeah.
But that's no fun. That's just what they are.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what they're
indeed.
called because it's what they are.
It's not like funny or witty or
Nope.
entertaining.
Have you met an elf that was funny or witty or entertaining?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll call
I
him a
haven't.
knife here.
Yeah.
Or her.
I did before I learned the name, and I just called them the name.
Perfect.
All right.
I-
So once you guys are done trying to give a little bit of civility and how to address the council's debauchement, you guys make your way into this clearing.
Just
And-
Parchment walking in, he big knife ears. We bring greetings. It's like the rest of it is just like, and we're leaving. Only
Bye.
we'll let you deal with this.
Oh, gee, thanks.
just,
So
just picking up.
I don't know, guys. I have a high enough charisma score. I might come across as charming.
Oh, this savage is absolutely hilarious.
Now leave.
Dance
That-
for us, small one. Dance for
That's
us.
us.
So I've been during this shelter in place rewatching Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and
Oh,
that
boy.
100% made me think of Frieza from Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Dance, for
Dance,
me,
monkeys,
monkey.
dance!
You stupid monkey.
What does that even mean? Stop holding your hands up!
Oh, gosh.
What
So-
even is this?
Yeah, so you guys go over court decorum, which is a lot simpler for elves than it is for humans usually, because elves are much more boring as people than humans, so there's less to make sure it goes correctly, except for at this point they said don't call them knife ears or pointy ears or anything about their ears. Leave their ears alone. So
We
as you guys enter
I wouldn't want them
into
to hear
this
it.
ring of trees, you guys see that it's basically as you expect from the outside. You have these tightly packed trees, almost allowing no like space between them. As we understand trees nowadays, that would
Mhm.
completely like ruin their root systems, and the vast majority of the trees wouldn't have the nutrients needed in order to sustain themselves.
Mm.
But you guys can assume a combination of magic and more magic keeps these trees alive and healthy throughout.
Magic and more magic.
Magic and more magic. And with how tightly packed these trees are, you'd expect it to be a little bit darker in here, but you have almost like that video game or movie-esque light coming from the opening, even though the sun isn't directly overhead, giving this area a lot more illumination than it has any right to have with how packed the trees are.
Sounds like more magic.
More magic. And then standing
A lot of magic.
in the circle are the three council members. And you guys, Cormier, Olney, and Poshment will recognize these three from the time skip.
Mm.
They were in that meeting planning the final attack
Ah.
during the time skip. So you have Shael Nisas. She was the head strategist for the attack in the time skip, but also once Athilanoris entered into the first War of Races, she quickly took over all military forces of Atrana, Rosmesh, and Athilanoris, Asmana, and what dwarves joined from Baraldur. And she is the Ranger General of Athilanoris. Then you have Zothsel. He is the wisest sage of Athilanoris. And then you have, and this was the one that I was wondering, how the hell do I pronounce this pre-generated name? You have I also know the Eternal Druid of Athilanoris.
Tikiaso?
Something like that. Tikiaso.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, it would just be Tikiaso.
Yeah, Tikiaso, and then the last name No. N-O-H.
No, you got that right. It's definitely no. You got it right. You're good.
So,
Yeah, you're good.
No.
And then this is, as I said, this is Cecil's first time seeing these three council members, but the rest of you in the time skip recognize them. So Zothel will say, please come on in and join us. We are very excited to have you in Athilanoris meeting with us.
We are humbled to meet your acquaintances, Elder Forest Walkers.
Thank you for inviting us.
No. Cormier's
Cecil is
gonna look at
actually, like,
Parchment with just this look of like, good job.
yeah, Cecil's just gonna kind of like clap him on the back. Just like,
I just kind of like I elbow whoever's next to me real quick and whisper like I didn't want to say that one in case that one was also bad until we got here.
I wanted to wait and find out.
Look, I can't give away all my good material, but
Oh, fuck.
The Eternal Druid will then speak up and go say, I hope your travels weren't too weary. And I hope
but yeah, no, not even a little bit. Actually, it's probably the least weary of travels I've ever had.
the boon of teleportation.
yes,
Indeed.
magic grants us many things of which we may not be able to do without. And we hope that you guys are finding the beauty of nature within Athilanoris to be refreshing as well.
Refreshing's an interesting word. It is like fascinating, to be perfectly honest. Craftsmanship is perfect. It's fantastic.
And at this point, Shale Nissus will pop up. She goes, of course it's perfect. The elves have higher craftsmanship than any of the other races.
Cormier is gonna let out an audible.
No, I mean the elves are pretty good. They got a certain elegance to theirs, but as far as like actual craftsmanship goes, I'd like to give it either to like. I mean, I don't want to say it because it's gnomes. They're usually pretty persistent about those sorts of things, and they've seen things all over the place, so they incorporate all that into the designs. It's pretty fantastic. Don't get me
Cecil-
wrong, the elves are great too.
Cecil
You
is
guys
definitely
are
like
okay,
started.
I guess.
Yeah, Cecil definitely started smiling the moment that you said the elves. It's pretty. He was just like, eh.
Your elegance is unmatched.
You see
But
Shale Nissus like go to say like she's gonna say something, and Zothel completely cuts her off and says like, well, since you guys' travel was well and you guys seem to be enjoying, and like when he says enjoying, he literally like dead eyes Shale Nissus and then turns back to you, enjoying the forest. I hope you don't mind if we start to get to the matter at hand.
Of course.
of course.
So, our diviners have been looking into an issue that we have been having here in Athilanoris.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be blunt with you. It's a problem that actually the elves, we ourselves, could take care of quite handily. But the diviners read that it was very important that the four of you were here and involved in the process. It's a problem that ties in directly to something that you are dealing with, something that affects the whole continent and not just Athilanoris itself.
Whoa. Even the elvish mystics are seeing us in their dreams.
No, not dreams. Spells that are cast when they are awake and cognizant.
I mean, you use your magic for them, and you call them what they want. But I always use dreams as like a loose term.
Yes. Okay. I see what you're saying then. Good clarification, Poshman. Thank you. I will remember that next time that you refer to dreams then.
I'll have to remember that the elvish kind is very linear in their vocabulary.
And the druid, whose name I don't want to say too often,
But
he'll
what's his
chime in.
name?
Tio says no. He chimes in and
Tio
says,
says no.
yes, even the forest spirits agree
Tio
with
says yes.
the diviners. So it is very imperative that we explain what is happening thoroughly, give you guys a full understanding of the situation here in Athilanoris, and try to understand how you guys are connected. That's the only part we haven't fully figured out. And they both look at Shealnesis, and she gives like a very to like kind of like collect herself before she starts talking. And she says, so what many
Very
people
unelf-like of her.
well, it's like super subtle. So I guess theoretically speaking, maybe only Poshment with his super high sense motive would have noticed it. But anyway, so she goes, what many people don't realize about the forest of Athilanoris is that while we do have the vast majority of the elven population residing within the forest, you get far enough north and you get to a point where there are enchantments. And what these enchantments aim to do is keep the primordial creatures that reside even further north contained to themselves. These barriers not allow these dragons and these elder, and then unfortunately Brandon himself, the database has been down for the last couple of days, so we can't look up exactly what creatures other than dragons would qualify in this category.
In which category?
Just super. Imagine like, because in regular Pathfinder worlds, you have like all those creatures that are kept down in the vaults and the not the Underdark in the Darklands.
Mm-hmm.
So, what creatures would be on the same scale as that, but still awake in the upper world?
Nothing.
Those
It
creatures are
basically
even.
you'd have to have a unique named entity who put class levels into something.
All right, so if those guys are like A plus, what's like the B plus A minus category of creatures then?
Basically just outsiders and dragons.
So then we're gonna go with maybe the B or B minus up if you put humans at Fs.
If humans are F with their limitless power and capabilities,
Basic humans,
then
not the adventurers.
even
NPC.
basic humans. I've seen NPCs do work. But anyways, hey, there's a lot of badasses that were non-adventurers.
True.
I mean, you're looking at things based off CR, which is a weird one considering I think like a blue whale's a 12.
Well, so you have like a lot of. I was thinking a lot of fey creatures, a lot of the dragons, a lot of magical beasts. I don't think there's really too many animals that would qualify within this category.
There shouldn't. Not
But
a lot of them get very
I
powerful.
could give a better list of what I think's in there when the Pathfinder database isn't down. It's been very spotty lately. But basically, she describes this as a area where like nature truly is doing what nature's doing without the disruption of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do I have a book for you?
And so all sorts of creatures reside in this forest,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't come south because of our enchantments in that barrier. They kind of
Yeah,
get close.
what you're describing to me sounds very similar to like a washed down version of the first world.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you
That's
and I can flush this
that's
out.
Earth
over-
1.0.
Maybe you and I can help flush this out over the next 2 weeks then.
Oh, I will gladly help.
But and Shealnesis will go on to continue and says, and these barriers have held for thousands of years. There's been no problems. In fact, the real reason why the elves don't allow any ships to try to travel around the elven countries is because if they don't turn back, they'll never return. These creatures will simply devour them.
No.
Fascinating.
Humans have an affinity to live almost anywhere except in these locations.
Are these barriers solely magical, or are they also physical in nature as well?
They're solely magical. Brandon himself, when he first crafted the Thilinoris, he knew that he wanted there to be some kind of barrier there. And initially, I was inspired kind of by the wall in Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
but I realized that just like a giant wall of trees wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that would basically be what the elves would use if it was to be more of a natural barrier and not a mystical barrier.
Yeah.
So I eventually just went with the mystical barrier.
Makes sense.
Um, within the rules of Pathfinder and up to 9th level spells, there's nothing I think that qualifies within this. So, but in our own world, we can say that these barriers easily exist and move on. Hopefully,
Works for me.
and
Unacceptable.
What's with this hand wavy magical bullshit?
Fine, it's an epic 10 level spell.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Brandon, put it in the game. Let's go get it.
Perfect.
Woo!
Anyways, so she goes on to continue, and normally these barriers have passed the test of time for thousands of years, and we've had no issues.
Mm-hmm.
Although lately, some of the smaller creatures have started to pass through.
It's starting to leak.
Oh, you guys made me.
As far as we can tell, we don't think it's leaking. We think the barrier itself is in place, but we think that there is an outside pressure put upon these creatures to push them through, where normally they would have no need to do that.
That would seem to be some very powerful magic.
Well, as of right now, it's only the smaller creatures.
Even then, to overcome this point, I'm imagining a millennia old barrier.
Imagine a mouse sneaking through the fortress wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of more akin to that. That's
The
a
wall
good,
was designed to keep out whole armies. It wasn't designed with minute creatures in mind.
I mean, I suppose, but I also, at that point, since it's a mystical barrier.
Well, imagine it like writing a contract, and any loophole or, script of magical writing that you've, forgot or were not specific enough on,
Yeah.
something can get through.
So if you guys are saying that in character, Sasthel will pop up. He'll chime in and he'll say, "It's a close comparison, the mouse in a fortress wall, but still, this fortress wall should be impenetrable even to the smallest creature, including a mouse."
Like, that's where I'm coming from. It sounds like if they haven't had a problem with this before, there wasn't somebody's written in a loophole.
Well,
Which is what
the world hasn't ended yet, and yet we foresaw the world end. There's always a first time.
Mm-hmm.
there is always a first time, correct? And
Can I remember from our flashback if anything was up with that wall? Like, was it still standing for what we know of? Or
so
for what
I
know
will
of?
give you a very hard history check to try to remember a detail like this from the time skip. But since you're an elf from Ethylenoris, it's capable for you to try to peer through and remember.
Alright, give me a good roll, please. Roll 20. Okay, it was okay. Not too bad. So 30.
So you don't remember the problem. I'm not saying like you're sitting there and you're like, I don't. Only sits there and says, because the bulk of the elven forces were down dealing with the Second War of Races in the time skip, he doesn't think that this could have been a problem. So this is like a new kink in this plan from the time skip, the alternate timeline, or that this was a problem that was taken care of before the Second War of Races happened, because it's not really you're not remembering it.
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so Chilnesis continues on and she says, normally this is a problem that our mages and rangers would be able to handle very quickly and aptly.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have only been invited into Athilinoris because our diviners seem to think that you have some connection to this problem, that it's very important that you guys are a part of our solution. I do suggest, though, that while you are here, you follow the instructions of the scouts that I will give you in order to guide you through Athilinoris to the wall, and you do not make any deviation.
That seems wise.
And she looks at Poshment and Cormier and she says, do we have an understanding?
Yeah, of course we do. Seems like a rather grave and important, serious problem, and might as well give it our full attention.
And then as soon as Poshment says that, like, her eyes move to Cormier and it almost has like a little more of a heat to it, you could say, which is very understandable because this is somebody who led the forces in the first war of races against the orcs and the rest of the savage races.
So Cormier, with his natural charisma, all 7 points of it, is going to make a very big show. Yes, Your Grace would not want anything to go amiss in our grand mission.
Oh, that's not
Cecil with his better charisma. We'll go ahead. Let's see. Let me double check what I had to diplomacy. Okay, that should be helpful.
I hope so.
Parchment will also chime in. It's like, well, so it should be noted that while I do have a bit of a bubbly and, altogether unnormal personality, what does get lost is that I do actually take things quite seriously. I would not surround myself with companions that do not also take things seriously. So please understand, from the bottom of my heart, that we will take this seriously, all of us.
And as for Cecil, will put just a hand on Cormier's shoulder, and it's like, I personally can vouchsafe for the quality of this man that stands before you. He is my brother in arms, and I would trust him with my life. With a 28 for a diplomacy check.
So for the Pathfinder uses scales of hostility to friendliness for how NPCs react to you. And for
and my diplomacy was at 27.
And so I wouldn't say that Chelnesis ever entered really into like the hostile area, more of like the stern, like just making sure that the ground rules are clear and that
she's just unfriendly.
She's unfriendly, yeah, and you kind of see her
being a bitch.
Relax a little bit through what Poshment and Cecil have, said, and she goes, "We'll see if that's enough."
We certainly will.
And then Zothel will say, since the issue at hand has been addressed, has been explained, are there any questions or clarifications that you guys think you need in order to fully complete this mission?
I would inquire, I guess, as to our ultimate objective. Are we here to investigate? Are we here to eliminate creatures that have managed to make it through the barrier? Are we to take part in potentially repairing whatever wardings there might be?
No, I would not expect you to take part in the wardings.
Good, I don't have the
That will
expertise.
take myself and some of the greatest mages on the continent to take a look at if there is actually any damage to the wardings itself.
Well,
But yes, the other two objectives within that you stated, looking into the root cause of this and seeing if you can figure out what is pushing these creatures past the barrier, and if any creatures have gotten past the barrier and we can't seem to put them back, then ultimately we will need to take care of those creatures for the good of the country of Athilnors.
I hope it's dragons.
We haven't seen any dragons come through yet. That doesn't mean that dragons haven't come through yet. There's been a number of other creatures, such as weaver worms, a type of aberration.
Yes.
We have seen a couple of those pop through. In fact, most of the creatures that have popped through are more or less classified as aberrations, oddly enough. Well, if there are no more questions,
I would like to make one request.
yes.
If you all have the time and the resources available and the willingness to do so, I would request any and all historical information that you will be willing to impart upon a non-elvish citizen of this continent, pertaining to these barriers and such. I imagine this would take some time to give, but any and literally all information possible would be very helpful.
Zostel will say, there's not much, honestly speaking. We don't have the date exactly for when the barrier was created, but it's somewhere marked around 8,000 years ago. Which you guys, as characters, can make a note is more recent than the 10,000 something years ago that you believe the civilization from the ruins existed. And it was basically, as we stated, created to help create a barrier between the more urban areas, Athilnors, and what lies south of it, and to give nature a chance to continue doing what nature needs to do. We don't have any real documents of this, though. The only thing that we can do is, once Brandon more fully fleshes out this area, kind of give you what we know to reside north of the barrier.
So you don't have some sort of dedicated historian who I would be able to talk to for a while?
Probably the best dedicated historian to the barrier is myself. If you have any specific questions, I am more than happy to answer them for you.
Brandon, I don't have any specific questions, but I would actually like to in-game sit down with whoever they would like to, and just go into as much detail as possible. Spend an amount of time really delving deep into that history, because I don't know anything about this at all.
Yeah, and none of you
So
guys
literally as much of this as possible would be very. Not only is Parchment just truly intrigued in this information, but he knows that any information that we'd be able to get is invaluable, and he wouldn't be able to come up with these questions on his own.
Okay. So
Oni will like to join in on that conversation.
yeah, it's probably useful for the party to, unless Cecil and Cormier have something very specific they want to do before you guys head out. It's probably
Leave
very
as soon as
useful
possible.
for you guys to have that conversation. So maybe we can start off the next session, even if we get past the conversation in game time.
Mm-hmm.
Backtrack and rehab that specific conversation if there's anything we want to bring up at the beginning of next session.
Fair enough.
Gotcha.
Indeed, that'll work.
So Zosthil will be like, yes, after we're done here, as part of your preparations, I'll be more than happy to go in depth with what creatures we know reside back there and what our scouts report is the state of the forest. And Shielnisis will go like, yes, let's wrap up this meeting and get these preparations underway. And she'll point behind you guys. And then Brock, I'm going to load you with another one. So I'm not really sure how you're doing with the screen space for the stream, but
I'm managing.
okay. So here's another person.
Okay.
This is what you guys view as a much younger elf. And it's someone who Olney actually recognizes.
Ooh.
Do you remember, Brock, if we had you reside in Ishaloon or El Nishara?
Ooh, let me. Off the top of my head, I do not remember.
Okay, so we'll say whichever one you resided in. Sahona Niam was a childhood friend of yours.
Okay.
She was a little bit older than you, but with the length of life of elves.
Ellen Shara.
Yeah, okay. With the length of lives of elves, it really didn't make that big of a difference how much older she was. And she will go council, and then she will look at the four of you, and she'll go, Olney, it's been a while.
Yes, it has.
And it's nice to meet the rest of you. I have been assigned your scouts to travel with you through Athilinoris and to help get to the bottom of this problem. And I think we will work well together.
We will definitely appreciate your guidance.
Oh, this is just wonderful. We got a friend of Olney accompanying us. This is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Very
I imagine
much so.
only since your character is old enough to have been like a camp hand or something during the First War of Races, that you both did get drafted as camp hands to help out the elves. You always knew that Sahona was more of a outdoors. We would kind of use the term tomboy to describe a human, but for a wood elf, that's just kind of seems the more natural inclination. So it's not too strange for you to see that she is now at least pretty decently positioned in the Athilinoris Rangers to be given this special mission, whether based off her relation to you or her own accolades. You don't know.
Makes sense.
So, Dionysus will say, like, I think we're done with this meeting. We will let you guys depart. If you guys need any preparation of supplies before you head out, we can probably accommodate anything that you need. Because you guys have 7th level gold you haven't spent yet.
True.
And once you guys are done talking to Zosthil, then I suggest you and Sahona move on out.
Then we appreciate your time and your audience with us.
Remember,
It
listen to
was an
Sahona.
honor.
She is your guide and your escort. And she will make sure that you guys get to and from your mission successfully.
Most excellent.
All right, so you guys leave the council, and the five of you with Sahona kind of go down the path that you came from. And Sahona will go to Olni, and she'll be like, "Do you mind if I talk to you for a second, Olni?
Not at all.
If you guys will please excuse us for a moment, I will escort you guys to our city where we can get supplies and prepare ourselves to move out in just a moment."
Certainly.
Sure thing. Go ahead and take all the time you need.
So she kind of walks Olni off the path a little bit to where she thinks that it's just far enough to be within eyesight of the three, but not earsight. And she then goes, "My, you found strange company in your time outside of Athilinoris. A gnome and a half-orc? Really?"
Well, things are definitely very different outside of Athilinoris. Spending so many years in Igene, you meet quite the company of people.
Maybe you spent a little too long outside the elf lands. Remember, it's important that you do not lose perspective of who you are and where you come from.
She wants you to spend more time in the Elflands.
I see what you did there.
Here.
She just compared me with a half orc. I don't know if I should be. That
I mean,
seems rather
Cormier's-
rude.
Cormier's pretty dope, so
I mean,
I
like,
wouldn't be offended.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like that's an insult, but coming from an elf, that feels like it should be an insult.
Well, if you could hear it, then maybe you could be insulted. But since she went far enough away, it takes quite a bit of a perception check in order to hear this conversation.
Oh, okay. I pulled my headphones off so that I didn't hear the conversation that we in character were not hearing.
Fair.
And then I heard my name, and I was like, what?
I mean, you can leave your headphones on if you want, or you can take them off. That's fine.
I think it's more fun to take them off.
But she continues, "Enough about your companions. How have you been? It's been decades."
I've been doing quite well. I've encountered a lot. I've seen a lot more of the world than I thought I would. Things are very different out there. A lot less defined in the same ways as it would be up here.
Well, of course it's different. You're dealing with the humans. They're only a step above the orcs.
I mean, that is fair, but I haven't encountered too many orcs or of their kind, to be fair. Cormier is definitely not what he would initially seem to be. I have actually spent quite a bit of time with him recently. Because we've been in adventure for like 6-7 months-ish?
So I had this all written down on one of my sheets. You guys started... I have to find the right sheet, though. I have many sheets. You guys started September 2nd, 1653, and it's like December, I think I said it was like a 16-day travel from Alosis to AOL, so like 23rd, 24th now?
Oh, so it's been like 3.5 months-ish.
Yeah.
I thought it'd been a little longer.
No, you guys started off in September, and your holdup during the winter in Alosis. Of course, you guys are trying to stay as productive as you can and not be in Alosis during this time, but...
Yeah. But no, I've spent the last couple months with them. And they, while are different, doesn't mean they're bad. Just takes a little bit of getting used to.
Does he smell?
No, he actually is quite clean.
That was one of my biggest concerns.
That's fair. I had the same thoughts, but at least he is not. No.
Did you
And-
finish your training in Argene?
I did actually, yes.
So, what? You're done traveling with these guys, and it's back to Thilinoris to live there?
Uh, it's kind of up in the air so far, taking some time going around. We actually have found ourselves in a quite a bit of a situation that we are helping out with the reclaiming of Asmana. Actually,
Oh, you're getting stuck with that mess?
yes, I am. That is not at all where I thought I would be, but if people need help, I see no reason why not to help them.
Last time we had to save Asmana, and it still fell. I'd suggest trying to remove yourself as far away from that as possible.
That is true, but they are the ones trying to reclaim that homeland. If something happened to us up here, would you blame us for trying to do the same thing?
If we were to lose our homeland up here, the entire continent would be doomed, and there would be no hope for anyone. So there would be no blame to go around. Let's be real.
Well, they thought it would be the end of the world as they knew it as well. So, I don't know. Things are different being down there for so long.
Okay, so she'll ask you a little bit more details about your time there and your training and people that you met. Go ahead and roll me a sense motive.
Ooh, I'm so not good at that. But ooh, rolled 18 for 18.
All right, so your impression of the conversation is that it was very nice to catch up with an old childhood friend who you haven't seen in decades, and you can tell that she's really glad to see you. But that's about what you get out of the conversation. You can tell that she was concerned about where you've been, what you've done, and who you're traveling with. But through the conversation, she feels a little better about it.
Well, that helps at least. I
All
don't
right.
really mention the time stuff.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. So if everyone else was with their headphones off, you can put them back on.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So, Sahona and Olni come back and join you guys. It's probably like actually ended up being a good 20 minutes or so.
Oh,
And you just, if you were to look at them, you just saw them standing there talking.
getting real buddy.
Sahona had her, had you guys in her viewpoint the entire time.
You like
Oh,
the
I
girl.
was
She wants
definitely
your hot prince body.
messing with her then. Just trying to like walk just out of view to see if she turns her head.
Oh, she did.
gosh.
She was sitting there, and if you were to walk away, she would try to split the difference between the two different groups and go back and forth between the two. But they come back to you guys, and she escorts you guys to a village. Once again, all the development is really in line with nature itself. There's nothing happening that is disturbing nature at all. You see a really good harmony
Yay.
in the elven village, and she'll kind of show you where you can go ahead and get magical gear, magical weapon, magical armor, in case that's where you guys want to spend your gold for the level up.
Good to
And
know.
I have a clarification about last time we played, which was
Yeah.
a long time ago. I have on my character sheet 1 negative level, and I don't remember what it's from.
That was from holding the cursed dagger, but upon returning the
yeah.
dagger to its hold, and then the temple taking the dagger in, you have lost your negative level.
Okay, I wanted to make sure it was from that and not from one of the like 4 times I died.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't from. You never died during that fight. The spirits did immediate actions to get you the amount of healing needed to keep you afloat.
Yeah, that one.
So if you guys want to buy any gear while you're here, we'll just say that happens now, even if you don't right now know exactly which gear you want to buy.
Okay.
And it can be on your
And we
character
have
sheet.
what? How much gear? How much money do we have?
Oh, Brock, how much money do they
We
have?
will get. So we have, unless we want to divvy up any of the items from the catfolk, it sells for 45,000. So divide by
Okay.
4, that would be 11.25 thousand each. The items he had that may be useful would be like a +2 cloak, a +1 ring, a +1 amulet, and a +2 con dex belt.
Huh.
Oh, someone might want a +2 breastplate. I don't know if anyone uses medium armor or not.
Condex.
I wear medium armor.
Strength.
Sorry, what?
It should have been con strength.
Oh, what did I say?
Condex.
On
Oh,
decks.
yeah, con strength. My bad. That's why I have
I
written
use
down.
strength and con and breastplate.
So we can worry about the gear later. We can probably message over Messenger if Brock wants to. Of course, it seems like mostly we just sell the gear and give out gold to try to keep everyone at the same gold level.
Does help.
We
Because
can.
if
Yeah, it's probably a good way to handle it.
so, we'll just say then that we sell it for the sell price, and that way everyone's on the same gold level, and no one gets drastically higher like we've had happen in the past. I'm not going to name Hell's Rebels campaign, but
It was me. I'm sorry, guys.
Yes, of
Dang,
course. It was
bitch.
definitely.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, I was the one that was always way behind on equipment.
and then Austin was even worse off.
A little bit. Well, then that would be 11.25k for everyone.
All right, so we can deal with gear after the session tonight, and you guys can just spend your gear and say you got it. And then
I
at the
already
beginning of the
spent
next
it.
session, we'll deal with anything that would have come up during your meeting with Zothel about the area past the barrier.
Cool.
And I think that's the majority of the preparations you guys would want to do. So we can go ahead and move on to exploring.
Sounds
Yay,
good.
exploring.
Okay, so Sahona will go ahead and ask you guys. So, are you more interested in trying to find some of the creatures that broke through the barrier, or just going straight to the barrier itself?
Yes.
The second one.
The barrier itself.
I'd say let's go to the barrier itself first.
Okay. So, you guys realize that her natural gait is like just a little bit faster than your natural gait.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin, for your purposes, you realize for the most part that you can ride Kren if you want.
We'll walk for now to
Okay.
not alarm anybody. But we're walking slowly because we walk slow.
You have to actually, like, Sahona every now and then like reminds herself to kind of slow down a little bit, but it just seems like her natural gait based off of racial variance is 5 feet faster than yours.
Mm.
Well, I walk at a 20.
Oh, so she's like
And
literally,
so does my bird.
Bird.
yeah, she's literally like every couple minutes stopping and trying to remember to slow down. And
Keep in mind,
Oh,
guys,
I
like,
also think it's
people
a great
don't
time.
normally move at their move speed when they're
Yeah.
just walking around. Like, combat movement speed is like kind of jogging to and fro, shuffling around. Like, there's a lot of actual added movement to that, where your maximum is like 35, 30, 20 feet in 6 seconds. Normally, when you're walking, you walk a lot slower than that. And variance in your movement speeds would be a lot more diminished at that rate.
I
Now,
would,
she would probably be going faster, but not by as much as like 5 feet around.
for the most part, I would agree, except for I think for these trained elven rangers in their natural state, they kind of do maintain, maybe not the full 35 feet like you're talking, but I feel like they do maintain a faster walking gait than.
I looked up what the average
No, like,
walking speed is.
What's the average walking speed?
1.4 meters a second.
So it's like 3 feet. A little over 3.5.
4.6.
4.6 times 6 is over 24, so that's close to the 30.
It's 29.4.
Wow, I wonder if D&D knew what they were doing, or if they just picked 30 because it sounded good.
Well, 30 is also from, like, I guess, how far back is that A D&D or second edition?
Pretty sure that was at least second edition.
At least second. And the
Because
other
I
thing
don't know where
too,
you would go other than Google to find that tidbit.
the other thing too is, I guess in combat, a move action is just one of the 3 different types of actions that you can take. So, it's with a swift action being the third, it's just under half the 6 seconds or something. So that does give a lot of credibility to Mitch's statement that you are moving at a much higher pace during combat. But
Well, that's why you can double move.
yeah. But anyway, so she like, you guys see that she gets herself into, like, she'll find herself in the natural ranger trekking the forest pace, and then remind herself that you guys, especially Poshment as a small sized creature and Cormier in armor, don't move at that speed, and she'll have to like slow down and wait for you guys at points. And she kind of gets more and more comfortable as time goes on with the slower speed.
Mm-hmm.
We are walking like normal people, and she's doing the equivalent of a speed walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as you guys are going, and like, for example, you hear like a twig snap, and like you realize that there's some creature, like whether it's a squirrel or it's a wolf or something nearby, you do see her like instantly snap into more for like ranger trekking.
I just
Basically,
assume every noise is elf.
is it
There are
elf?
no squirrels here. They're just elves. Yep.
If you say that, she'll go, "No, you wouldn't hear the elves."
You'd be surprised.
Most of the elves you wouldn't hear, at least.
And then for your guys' mechanical purposes, you do realize that she hardly leaves a physical trail where she goes. And mechanically speaking, she's an equivalent level ranger to you guys, so she just qualified for Woodland Stride.
Cute.
Okay.
But with her guiding you through, you guys are traveling on foot for, we'll say, 3 days before you actually get to the barrier. And she'll every now and then be like, okay, let's veer off this way. We probably don't want to run into that bear cave, and I'm seeing wolf tracks going that way, so let's go this way. So she's veering you off, trying to lead you away from whatever's happening. So you guys get to the barrier, completely uneventful. You don't run into really any other elven villages also. Just the one that you
I
guys
just
came
make
from.
snide comments about how tasty certain animals are.
And she'll chime up and she'll go like, yeah, wolf meat isn't too bad. But there's no need to bring down a whole wolf right now if we don't have the capabilities to fully use the wolf.
I'll point at my rock. That boy can eat.
And she'll go, yeah, I guess he would fully use the wolf. You're correct. Nature does as nature will.
Yeah, we definitely didn't come here to hunt for sport.
And you guys reach where she goes, okay. Now here is the barrier. There's really nothing for us to look at unless you can detect magic.
Detect magic.
So you're probably seeing like really, really strong auras of abjuration and maybe even conjuration. And maybe even transmutation, like probably a combination of those three schools of magic.
I'd imagine for something like this, there's probably some enchantment too.
Yeah. You're seeing like a really big mix of different schools of magic in order to keep this barrier up. And because detect magic only gives you the school, it doesn't actually tell you what the spell is, right? Or is it stages where it's school then?
So you can, if you hold it long enough, I think it's 3 rounds, you can make a spellcraft check.
So round 1 is whether or not magic auras exist. Round 2 is the number of different magical auras. And then round 3 is the strength, location. If the items or creature bearing the auras are in line of sight, you make a knowledge arcana to determine the school of magic involved in each. That's not automatic. Which is a DC 15 plus spell level or half cast level, whichever is higher. And then the aura emanates from an item you can attempt to identify its property.
I'm not really sure how mythic level spells add into caster level because you don't get into like the level 21 caster level, do you? If you were to
Well, mythic level isn't a. There are mythic variants of a ton of spells with various spell levels.
So it would take at least like a 35 check to tell what the auras are. Then can only make that.
I can.
Well, it's a DC 15 plus spell level. So is it a spell level of 20?
Oh, 9. Okay, so 15 plus 9 is 24. My bad. I thought you said
And the
10.
functioning spell can be 10th level or higher. It could be magic more potent than normal people can have.
Yeah, so it is more potent magic, but if it's only a 25 or so, then Olney can probably. Yeah, okay. So Olney rolled really well, so yeah, he can identify those auras. But any more concentrating on it, even if you were to, I don't know if you can take a 20, but even if you were to take a 20, you're like, this is nothing I can comprehend at this point.
Like, it hurts a little to look at.
Yeah, I guess it probably, the auras are like stronger than any auras
Overwhelming.
you've ever seen, and they are kind of overwhelming. Makes you kind of want to shield your eyes if you stare at it for too long. But one thing I guess you will realize, just as Zostel was saying, is that it still does seem to be like a super solid wall of these barriers. And you see that this barrier runs about a mile deep north. So it's not like it's just like a single like 5-foot barrier. It's a huge stretch of land this enchants. But if you guys try to pass through it or anything, like you feel no effects, you can pass through it just fine.
Huh.
Interesting.
It's just
So
to keep.
theoretically, if we, didn't really respect our own lives that much, we could just keep walking, and nothing would stop us.
Yeah, nothing would stop you
Until things did stop us.
until you
So what
kicked
you're
off.
saying is we keep going forward.
No, see, that sounds like what someone would do if they wanted to die. At least that's
Yeah.
Or if I wanted to kill a dragon.
Like I said, that's what you would do if you wanted to die. I appreciate using different words than mine, but I think we said about the same thing.
Nah, I said kill a dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Die.
Dragons are arcana, so somebody could make an arcana check if you are talking about dragons.
Do I have Arcana? I do. I
also
do have Arcana.
I get 24 about Durgans.
So, you do know that there are dragons
I only got a 19.
outside of this area that the elves just described to you that you didn't know existed a week ago. There are dragons south in the uncivilized lands, and then there are dragons past the mountains of Reldor, or it's suspected to be dragons there. So this isn't the only place to hunt dragons, but there are dragons there to hunt. As an interesting tidbit.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Are they usually like chromatic dragons?
They're the same dragons in regular Pathfinder world.
Like the chromatic
Well, there's
dragons are,
chromatic
like,
and there's
evil,
metallic.
as opposed to the metallic being like good aligned.
How are they usually divvied up in Pathfinder world?
Like that.
There's both.
Well, I mean, how do they usually locate it?
What he's saying, guys, is that everything you know about dragons from Pathfinder applies to dragons here, except where they're located, because they're located to the north, south, and east.
Yeah, I just don't know really how over Galarian dragons are located.
They're not in any one specific spot. If it's
They're
got a lot
usually
of
located by geography that matches their natural attunement. So, like a white dragon, you might find up higher in the mountains, and stuff like that.
We found those white dragons in the evil party, and their lair was in the mountains, but they were hunting in the forest.
Yes.
Yeah, they're hunting down in the forest under the mountains.
Okay. So unfortunately, we're kind of at a point where it's weird to keep going a little bit. I was kind of hoping you guys would do. There was a point where if you guys would have gone to Alosis, there would have been more role playing there. And sometimes with the fully role playing sessions, it's hard to gauge how long things will take.
Feel that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this is, unless there's things that you guys specifically want to do at this barrier right now, this is about a good stopping point as any.
Well, I mean, I am curious about the barrier itself. Like, is there, because you said it basically is like very deep. Is there anything like how big is it? Is it like just a giant wide wall type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at the map, it would stretch from the coastline to the mountains. And then I said a mile. It's actually probably not a mile. A mile's ridiculous. But it's probably a good half mile of north-south space.
Okay.
So are there any ideas of like where there might be something up with the wall, or do we just kind of come to just look at the wall? Just see what it is?
She asked if you guys wanted to try to find a creature that had snuck through or the wall itself, and you guys said you wanted to look at the wall itself, so she brought you here.
So, I mean, I guess I would take some time and look around and see if anything seemed different than any else of the wall. But, I mean, if the wall was that big, I probably wouldn't get to very much of it.
Yeah, I would
Have
probably
they scouted the wall at all?
Have the elves scouted the wall?
Yeah, like if they had people with detect magic come up here, run the length of the wall to see if anything's wibbly wobbly with the magic yet.
Yeah, so probably this would have been something that you would have talked about with Sothel that we would do next session. But I can tell you that he says, as far as they can tell, the wall's intact. They literally
Okay.
just believe that at this point they believe there is an outside pressure that is so big, grand, threatening to the creatures that somehow it's overriding the enchantments of the wall.
So their wall's more like a suggestive wall, like it convinces them to not go through it. It's not going to
Yeah.
physically stop anything.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess it's more of like a suggestion.
Okay.
You're right.
Is it
That
safe to
makes
like
sense.
walk through?
That
or is there,
explains
like,
how
a way
people are getting
around it?
through when it's still powerful and active.
Yeah.
Because that was the part that I was
Something-
getting. Like, if it was like some sort of like a magical, like you,
I was
like
thinking a force
invisible
field.
wall. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, that doesn't
Oh.
make. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I tried to when I was just I thought I said like yeah I didn't want a physical thing like Game of Thrones
Yeah.
because in this natural forest a physical thing didn't make as much sense to me.
No, but that makes more sense, and I like that. That's like a much more interesting thing than just like having like a dome.
Yeah. So as you
Okay.
guys are here, you can go through into the barrier itself, and you could even go all the way to the other side of the barrier.
Uh-huh.
You guys are seeing different woodland creatures, whether it's little foxes or whether it's birds or squirrels or whatever. They can go back and forth just perfectly fine. They're not the types
Mhm.
of creatures that this barrier is meant to keep out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your conversation with Zostel would have just said that at this point they believe there is something forcing these creatures through, and they don't know what it is.
But that is interesting. That's cool because that's like a different level of power. Like it could be simply something that is very, very physically threatening or magically powerful, but it's just something that like is intimidating them enough to overcome their intimidation of this barrier.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. I like having clarity of your vision too. Like that's fun.
Sorry,
No, don't worry
once
about it. Like
again, it was
it's,
something that makes so much sense in my head that I didn't correctly say to you guys.
yeah, it happens. That's why this is collaborative. So we got to the point where we asked the right question.
Yeah, and I imagine as you guys get close, that Sahona basically points out like some mundane thing that you guys hardly notice. That she says this is a clear indicator of where the barrier starts, and you guys are like, kind of looks like the rest of the forest. I guess if you guys ever been down any of the hiking trails, you see like there's different rock signs saying like when to turn left and when to turn right. So it's like a way more subtle that.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting. Yeah.
Any other questions about the barrier while we're right here? We can always add more questions 2 weeks from now if they come up.
So far it makes sense to me now.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 weeks from now we will work on figuring out what is forcing these creatures through, and I'll give you a better idea of exactly which creatures are forced through. Unfortunately,
Seems
I went through the monster database to find out what I wanted to play with, and then I'm a dum dum and didn't write them down. So then I tried to go back through the monster database to redo that, and it's been down.
Yeah.
there you go.
All right, so I guess this is the point where we'll be signing off.
There you
Okay.
go.
Okey-dokey.
Bye.
Right.
Good
Bye,
night, everybody.
Till Wednesday.
Good night. See y'all.